Morning everyone, we are on chapter 11 of The Wizards of Once, Knock 3 Times. Chapter 11 is the surprising things you learn when you spend a day as someone else. I have to try and remember to be a different voice when I'm a different person. This is going to be fun. Sorry in advance. Tsar was surprised at how lonely it was to be Bodkin. Of course, the sprites and the animals wouldn't hang out with him as much because that would have attracted attention, so they just suddenly weren't there anymore, and it gave him a very odd feeling to be totally, well, alone. Did Bodkin always feel this alone? It wasn't that anyone was positively mean to him. They just tended to ignore him when he said things, their eyes passed over him as if he really wasn't there. Apart from Wish, Tsar could see why Bodkin liked Wish so much. She was the only person who seemed interested when he said something. When I get back to being Tsar again, I'm going to be a lot nicer to old Bodkin, thought Tsar, and Bodkin found he learned a great deal from being Tsar as well. At first it was nice to have everyone laughing when he made a joke, everyone looking to him for guidance, all the attention from other wizards and the sprites, but then it began to feel like quite a lot of pressure to be funny, naughty, and amuse everyone, and being told off all the time turned out to be extremely wearing. As for the hand with the witch stain, Bodkin didn't see how Tsar could stand it. He couldn't remember Tsar ever mentioning this. Maybe Tsar was too proud, but it hurt all the time. Burning, itching, yearning ache. And worse than that, he could feel it trying to control him, lead him in the wrong direction, confusing his thoughts and turning them upside down, inside out. It was most unpleasant. Dear, oh dear, thought Bodkin. I'm worried that time is running out for poor old Tsar. I've no idea that the witch stain was such a burden. Last lesson was with Madame Clairvoy. After a whole day of being told off by teacher after teacher, Bodkin was thoroughly fed up, and he found himself answering back and being nearly as cheeky as Tsar would have been himself. Madame Clairvoy was in a really mean mood, and she gave Bodkin 2 detentions for rudeness and insubordination. And Bodkin felt a little guilty about that until he realised that Tsar wouldn't turn up for the detentions anyway. At the end of the class, Bodkin headed with relief to the door, for there were only a couple more hours to go, and then he could go back to being himself again. Tsar followed, equally keen to get to the end of this stupid day as quickly as possible. But Madame Clairvoy called Tsar back. "Stay behind, Bodkin," said Madame Clairvoy. Tsar couldn't quite get used to being Bodkin, so he looked around him for a second before he realised that Madame Clairvoy was talking to him. Why did she want Bodkin to stay behind? Bodkin was wondering that too, and as he looked over at Madame Clairvoy, he had a sudden, shocking realisation, a memory of something that he'd seen once, long ago, in the dungeons of Warrior Fort. He knew why Madame Clairvoy wanted to see Bodkin, and he had to prevent that at all costs. "Bodkin can't stay behind, Madame Clairvoy," said Bodkin with real urgency in his voice. "Madame Perdita wants to see him and Wish and me in the lair of the bear right now." "I'm sure Madame Perdita can wait a few moments," snapped Clairvoy. "Off with you now, Tsar." Sorry, wrong accent. Told you. "I've had quite enough of you all day." And she shooed Bodkin out of the room. Madame Clairvoy carefully shut the door behind him. Bodkin knelt down so that he could hear what was going on in the room. That makes no sense. Anyhow, that makes no sense, because it should be Tsar. Madame Clairvoy glided to the cupboard in the corner of the room and opened it. There was something inside, and what she did next, Tsar and Bodkin, watching through the keyhole, could not really believe. She took off her head as if she was taking off a hat. The now headless woman gave a quick, satisfied pat of Madame Clairvoy's hair and placed the head of Madame Clairvoy on a stand inside the cupboard. And, peering goggle-eyed into the cupboard, Tsar realised there was another head in there. The arms of Madame Clairvoy reached inside the cupboard, picked up this other head, put it on her shoulders, gently pushing it down as if to make it secure, and then turned around. And it wasn't Madame Clairvoy standing in front of Tsar. It was Queen Sycorax. Good. That's the end of that chapter. Chapter 12. The story takes another unexpected turn, because clearly you don't want me to just stop in 4 minutes and go, bye-bye, see you later. Oh, well, well, well. Unsurprisingly, Tsar just stood there with his mouth open. Tsar was never that glad to meet Queen Sycorax, who he wouldn't have described if asked as very scary indeed. Super scary, scarier than a whole load of vampires feeling a little peckish because their blood sugar was running a little low. But much scarier than ever was she when you met her swapping heads and pretending to be someone other than she was. You're not supposed to be here, thought Tsar, rather hysterically to himself. You're a warrior. We should at least be safe from you in a learning place for gifted wizards. But he didn't say that. He was much too flabbergasted. All he said instead, in a bewildered sort of way, was, Queen Sycorax, what on earth are you doing here? Madame Perdita thinks I am Madame Clairvoy, snapped Queen Sycorax. Madame Perdita may think of herself as a great leader, but she's a fool, and like so many other fools, she's not clever enough to look past appearances. She interviewed me a couple of weeks ago as a new teacher for the StarCraft lessons, and she didn't even guess that I was a warrior. Now, I know perfectly well that it is you, Bodkin, who is hiding underneath that really rather pathetic hob disguise, so don't waste my time trying to deny it, said Queen Sycorax. For Queen Sycorax was not quite as clever as she thought she was, and she was under the impression that she was talking to Bodkin. I have a task for you, Bodkin. I want you to get me the spoon and the enchanted sword and Wish's spelling book, ordered Queen Sycorax. I've been trying to get hold of them, but Wish never lets them out of her sight. But she trusts ye, and she'll give them to you if you ask to borrow them for a moment. I'm sure you can think of a reason why you need to borrow them. Tsar kept quiet, thinking, what is going on? Why is this ridiculous Bodkin boy staring at me with his mouth open? Thought Queen Sycorax irritably. Then she spoke very slowly, as if she thought Bodkin was a little slow on the uptake. Wish will not Scottish, give up anything to me unless I have the spoon and the sword and the spelling book. Understand? Explained Queen Sycorax. As soon as I have those things, I can take you and Wish back to the safety of the Iron Warrior Fort. You know in your heart of hearts that the fort is the only place where she will be safe from the King Witch. If I can get in this learning place, you can be sure as damn it that the King Witch can too. And it is your duty as her bodyguard to protect her at all costs. Right? Tsar said nothing. Queen Sycorax smiled, one of her lovely golden ones, sweeter than honey. If you do as I want, I'll reward you, cooed Queen Sycorax. Do you want to be an assistant bodyguard all your life? If you bring us the spoon and the spelling book and the sword, I'll never tell her you did it willingly. I'll say I took them off you by force. And finally, you'll be worthy of her, for I will make you a knight warrior and a hero of my queendom. Think how sad your father would be to see you dressed like this, a ridiculous owled hob, and how proud he would be if his only son were made a knight warrior. No, you won't make Bodkin a knight warrior, thought Tsar. Don't believe her, Bodkin. She's lying, cheating queen who doesn't keep her promises. Queen Sycorax's honey smile faded as she revealed the sting behind the sweetness. But if you didn't do as I want, there will be penalties, said Queen Sycorax. I'll tell Wish that you are the one who betrayed her. You are the one who sent word to me about where you were in the wood. Bodkin betrayed us, thought Tsar. It was Bodkin's fault that Queen Sycorax ambushed us in the forest all along. And Wish will never, ever, ever trust you again, said Queen Sycorax sorrowfully. Never love you again. There was never any chance of her loving you, and of course as a mere assistant bodyguard of no birth or consequence at all. While Wish is a royal personage, but there was still hope. You could have still held her sword, polished her armour, and done all those assistant bodyguarding type things. Queen Sycorax was a little vague at this point because she really hadn't a clue what an assistant bodyguard actually did. They were way below her idea. But if you go on the way you are choosing, all hope will be gone, not to mention Wish falling into the grip of the King Witch. There was a long, long silence. Outside the room, kneeling by the keyhole of the door, Bodkin was crying. He wiped away his tears with the back of his sleeve, got up and ran away. Inside the room, Queen Sycorax was waiting for an answer from the boy she thought was Bodkin. I can see you're beginning to come back to your senses, said Queen Sycorax with satisfaction. You're beginning to realise that your recent defiance has been a mistake. At last, Tsar answered. It is you, Queen Sycorax, who has made a mistake, said Tsar, almost too cross to get the words out. It was Queen Sycorax's turn to be surprised. I beg your pardon. And then, when Tsar whipped out Bodkin's do-it-yourself magic staff and pointed at her, she was more surprised still. Oh, what does this stupid staff do again? Thought Tsar. Ah, yes, it sticks things to other things. Well, I can work with that. Pew! He pointed the staff and it stuck. Queen Sycorax's hands to the table. Have you gone completely off your rocker? Said Queen Sycorax, staring at her hands, trying to pull them off the table and getting increasingly irritated as she realised that wasn't possible. Pointing a magical weapon at a teacher, using a magical weapon on a teacher, I'll report you. You'll be expelled. Put the staff down, you disobedient Bodkin boy. You're not the only one who can look like someone else, raged Tsar. I'm not Bodkin, you stupid queen. Oh, don't be ridiculous, says Queen Sycorax. Of course you're Bodkin. I saw through your ridiculous disguises in about 2 seconds. A little green colouring and some furs are going to trick me. Release me or I'll tell Wish all about your betrayal. Duh! Yelled Tsar. I don't care. Release me. Because I may be looking like Bodkin at the moment, but I'm not really Bodkin. I'm Tsar. Now, it was Queen Sycorax's turn for her jaw to drop and to stare at Tsar with goggle-eyed expression of amazement. No, it's not possible. We took the interesting transformation potion and changed places. Sneered Tsar. Oh dear. It is possible. I'm Tsar, and you, shouted Tsar, are the wickedest, most traitorous, most lying warrior queen I've ever met in my entire life. I have met adders more straightforward than you are. You're trickier than a trickload of were-foxes. You're more crooked than the back of a crooked-backed snail. Only Tsar could be that rude. Queen Sycorax turned positively whiter than a sheet. Okay, said Queen Sycorax, her lips pursing. You're definitely Tsar, son of Encanto. Tsar was the rudest boy that Queen Sycorax had ever met and a real thorn in Queen Sycorax's side. Queen Sycorax was used to people being terrified of her, or at least respectful, but in this particular 13-year-old boy she had always seemed to have met her match. And that was why she had been so mean to him when she was looking like Madame Clairvoy. But Tsar was even trickier than she was, and he was a lot ruder. I ought to have known that horrible Madame Clairvoy was you all along, roared Tsar. You may have been the most beautiful nose in the wildwoods, but every single time you tell a lie, it gets just a little bit pointier. Queen Sycorax sniffed thoughtfully. It was nonsense, of course. But Queen Sycorax was very, very proud of her nose, which was indeed the most beautiful nose in all of the wild woods, and the thought of it getting pointier or being any other shape than the perfect shape it was most disagreeable. The beastly boy, how dare he! Queen Sycorax was nothing if not adaptable. She was thinking fast. Even if you are son of Encanto, you're in big trouble, said Queen Sycorax. I have sent word anonymously to your father that you are hiding in here, and my spies tell me that Ancanso is about to turn up to claim his son and take you back to the prison Goldman Crag, where you belong. Tsar was calming down. He was less angry, but very sad. Well, he won't find us. Sorry. Well, he won't find me here, said Tsar. We're running away again, and we're happy, said Tsar. Wish was happy, Bodkin was happy, I was happy, and you've made us run away. Well, the happiness was just an illusion, wasn't it? This is real life, and in real life, wizards and warriors can never be friends. Who are you going to run away with? The Bodkin boy who's already betrayed you? You cannot come with you, surely, and if Wish cannot even trust Bodkin, why would she trust you? Well, think about your own problems if I was you, Queen Sycorax. So advised her, you're stuck to the table! You cannot reach the carpet to put your Madame Clairvoyante on, so Madame Perdita and everyone is going to find you here, a Queen of Warriors, in a learning place for wizards. Full all her roaring, Madame Perdita is soft, said Queen Sycorax. She will let me go. Tsar walked towards the door, and just as he reached in it, he turned round. You were never going to make Bodkin into a night warrior and a hero of your queendom, were you, Queen Sycorax? Of course not, said Queen Sycorax. We warriors have very strict rules about that sort of thing. Once a servant, always a servant. I just said that because lies sometimes have to be told. In pursuit of the higher good. Tsar finished her sentence for her. And Bodkin believed me because he wanted to believe us, said Queen Sycorax. Love is a weakness, Tsar, son of Encanso. You need to remember that if you want to be a leader one day. But who am I talking to? You, of all people, should know that. The boy who wanted power so much that he took magic from a witch. I was young, and I made a mistake, but maybe I am not what you see. You may think of yourself as a great leader, Queen Sycorax, said Tsar, but like so many other fools, perhaps you are not as clever enough to see past appearances. Only Tsar would have had the cheek to quote Queen Sycorax back at Queen Sycorax. I don't yet know what I want to become, said Tsar, but I do know whatever it is, I don't want to be what you seem to have become. He shut the door very quietly, and that last comment made Queen Sycorax think a good deal more than any of the insults. And that is where we're leaving it today. I will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.